Sandy Ronaldo.
Good evening. Former big league hockey player Brett Lindros is being held up as an example tonight of what can happen when snowmobilers drink and drive. The brother of NHL superstar Eric Lindros and a friend were injured in a crash early today at a lake near Parry Sound in northern Ontario. Lindros and a friend were taken to a hospital in Toronto where both are said to be recovering from their injuries tonight. Lindros' father said his son is lucky it wasn't worse.
It doesn't appear that we're dealing with anything that's critical or, you know, they got lucky.
Brett Lindros was a passenger on the snowmobile when it crashed on the rocky shore of the lake. Brett is the younger brother of Eric Lindros and played for the New York Islanders. His pro career lasted only 51 games, ending during the 1995-96 season because of concussions. Now, for many Canadians, snowmobiling has become the winter pastime of choice. But this year, as more and more riders hit the trails, the number of accidents and fatalities has soared. CTV's Jennifer Fraser now on what's become a deadly season.
For some, snowmobiling is the ultimate winter activity.
Crazy, maybe?
For others, it's pure adrenaline. This stunt, commonly referred to as puddle jumping, is an extreme. Most of Canada's over 600,000 riders stick to the trails. Snowmobiling, now a multi-billion-dollar-a-year industry in North America, continues to grow in popularity. Along with that popularity, more safety programs. So why then do more than 90 Canadians die every year in snowmobile-related accidents? And this year is shaping up to be one of the deadliest on record. In Ontario alone, the death toll now stands at 32. That compared to 16 in total last season. Most of the fatalities occurred off-trail. Some attribute the increase to a real Canadian winter.
Correlation between, rider use, snowmobile use, and the amount of snow you have. There's no question.
Anyone with a regular driver's license can operate a snowmobile, and those as young as 12 can do so with a special permit. Snowmobiles are much more powerful than they were just a few years ago. Many reach speeds in excess of 200 kilometers an hour. Speed, along with alcohol and darkness, are the leading cause of accidents, most involving men 15 to 35 years old.
These are people that know better. It's just that when they see that as a recreation, they think that the rules don't apply to them, when in fact snowmobiling is not a toy.
Have a good day. Keep it under control.
Provincial police and deputized civilians were out this weekend, cracking down on careless drivers.
What we're doing is we're educating people.
Still, police say they can't enforce common sense, something they admit many snowmobilers could use. Jennifer Fraser, CTV News, Dorset, Ontario.
The passion for speed was at the core of two other crashes today, this time at the Daytona 500, and one of them took the life of star driver Dale Earnhardt Sr. Ambulance crews fought in vain to save Earnhardt at the emergency room door, just seconds before his son arrived to say goodbye to a stock car racing legend.
Big trouble, right behind them.
Earnhardt in the black car and another competitor slammed into each other as Earnhardt and his son guarded the lead in the race's last lap. Teammate Michael Waltrip went on to win, a victory the 49-year-old Earnhardt paid for with his life. It was the second big crash of the race, but miraculously no one was seriously hurt in an earlier pileup of 21 cars that sent Tony Stewart's machine flying. The driver was treated in hospital for a concussion.
Steve Parton's car demolished.
The race was watched by a record 150,000 spectators. Prime Minister Jean Chrétien, back from his China trip, returns the way he left, hounded by an ethics controversy. Questions linger about a controversial bank loan and the role Chrétien played in getting it. As the suspicions swirl, a proposal to rewrite the ethics rules is about to hit the Prime Minister's desk. CTV's Roger Smith reports.
Home from China, back into the winter chill. But things will quickly heat up for the Prime Minister as he faces more questions about alleged conflict of interest and proposals by his own ethics counselor to tighten the rules.
There's a set of propositions now with the Prime Minister. He's going to take a look and he's going to come to a decision.
At issue, financial help for this hotel in Chrétien's riding next to a golf course in which he had shares, and whether the Prime Minister or his friends got any improper benefit. During the election, Chrétien admitted he lobbied the head of the Business Development Bank, a Crown corporation, to get a loan for the hotel.
I know the president.
So I called him once or twice.
After opposition complaints, the ethics counselor ruled that wasn't conflict of interest, but it may be in the future. Indications are his new proposals would prevent ministers from lobbying heads of Crown corporations to help constituents. Instead, only ministers' staff would be allowed to contact lesser officials.
Isn't this in effect implicitly saying the Prime Minister was at fault? And I've said that rules don't apply retroactively, but rules do evolve.
Well, Wilson argues new rules can't apply to past actions. This Tory MP isn't buying it.
If it's wrong today, it has to have been wrong then.
While Liberals call it a smear campaign, the opposition vows to keep up the pressure. The proposed new rules, which Chrétien himself can accept or reject, are bound to provide new ammunition. Roger Smith, CTV News, Ottawa.
A warning from 400 of the world's top scientists that the impact of global warming is happening more quickly than expected, and that developing nations are the most vulnerable. A climate report card by the scientists will be released in Geneva Monday. Among the findings, expect more extreme weather. Expect that water, agriculture, forestry, and human health could be affected, and that industrialized nations will adapt better than developing countries. An international inspection team has ended its mission to assess the threat of mad cow disease in Brazil. This week, it will issue its conclusions about whether Canada was justified in banning Brazilian beef and nearly sparking a trade war. But Ottawa is also checking its own backyard. Tomorrow, federal health officials will meet with representatives from the meat industry to discuss the problem. Tonight, CTV's Lisa Laflamme looks at the facts and the fear behind mad cow disease in the first of 3 special reports.
Canadian cattle ranchers take no chances with their livelihood.
These guys got a lot of dollars invested in this business. We're playing with big money today.
Big money and big losses if the cattle come down with mad cow disease.
It's a big worry if it ever hit here. The cattle market would go to heck.
Inevitable. It's a small world today. We all know that.
We also know that Canada imported European feed materials well into the 90s. The government files indicate it was never fed to cattle. A new tagging system should now remove all doubt. Every cow will be traced, cradle to plate.
Tagging the calves with identifications, that's going to help the problem. The public perception is what we're concerned about now.
The public, still consuming Canadian beef, but aware that in Europe, mad cow disease has jumped to humans, killing 80 people in 20 years. A small number, but huge implications for a scientific unknown.
It has a 100% fatality rate. There's no treatment.
Dr. Robert Peterson of Health Canada handles therapeutic products. A lot of them contain some kind of cow byproduct, including a primary infant vaccine manufactured in Canada. Scientists are working to find alternatives, but Health Canada says the benefit outweighs the risk.
A risk of perhaps 1 in 40 billion of acquiring this condition by virtue of the vaccine. That is where terms such as infinitesimal risk come from.
Still, Peterson has no illusions.
We expect that there will be variant CJD in a case or more that will exist and that will occur in Canada.
The mad cow human version of Creutzfeldt-Jakob has not occurred here yet, but what's called sporadic CJD has, about 35 cases a year. Dementia and death is fast and unforgiving. Fear of the unknown has some pathologists in British Columbia refusing to do autopsies.
If somebody has suspect CJD, it's considered as hazardous material, and essentially it has to be sent in a casket that's lead-lined if you're going to send the whole body.
So, BC victims are sent to more equipped morgues in Calgary or Toronto. The diseased brain is handled with special tools that may one day reveal the mystery of mad cow. Lisa Laflamme, CTV News, Ottawa.
The type of Creutzfeldt-Jakob disease that Lisa mentioned in her report, sporadic CJD, has not been linked to mad cow disease or the consumption of beef. Tomorrow, another special report on how Americans are protecting themselves from the threat of infection. Dr. William H. Masters, one of the first researchers in the field of human sexuality, has died in Arizona of complications from Parkinson's disease. He was 85. Masters and his ex-wife Virginia Johnson founded the Masters and Johnson Institute in St. Louis, Missouri, nearly 30 years ago to study sex. Their findings led to the 1966 bestseller, Human Sexual Response. Next in this newscast, the end of the road for the Auto Pact.
I'm of the view that the Auto Pact is the most successful two-way trade agreement on any particular product.
Will the wheels fall off Canada's auto industry? And later, driving to distraction. Those stories still to come on CTV News.
This portion of CTV News has been brought to you by Export Development Corporation.
These exporters are doing business smart because they've tapped into EDC's foreign market expertise. The detailed country risk analysis gives them an edge over their competitors. What order do you want to be? Export Development Corporation. Realize a world of opportunity.
Would you expect your car to protect you? With sensors that know where your seat is positioned and the severity of the crash so the airbags could react to you? Would you expect your car to put you in a more comfortable driving position? With pedals that could adjust to how long your legs are. The Taurus SE, with the most advanced safety system in its class and the only car in its class with power adjustable pedals. Expect more.
No one knows the 21st century like the people at Century 21. We're the best trained agents in the business. We've built the world's most powerful network linking buyers to sellers. Using tomorrow's technology, we're continuing to expand our abilities and your possibilities. No wonder we're the best-known name in real estate. At Century 21, we've been ready for the 21st century for a long time.
Now available to own on Disney DVD.
Investment solutions for all of us. BMO Mutual Funds.
What many would call the best trade agreement Canada ever made becomes history tomorrow, the Auto Pact. Under the deal, American automakers agreed to build vehicles in Canada in exchange for tariff breaks. Analysts say its disappearance won't hurt the Canadian industry, but others fear that without the Auto Pact, our car makers may be vulnerable. CTV's Peter Murphy explains.
Chrysler's Paulette Road van plant in Windsor owes its existence to the Auto Pact. It's provided jobs and a good living for thousands of workers, among them Tom Moss.
Well, I feel that the Auto Pact has given me 25 years of work at Chrysler's, and I hope to retire there. My father worked there, my brothers worked there.
For the city of Windsor, as well as the province of Ontario, the Auto Pact has been an engine of prosperity. A quarter of the jobs in Windsor are in the auto sector. It is one of the highest family incomes in the country. 1 in 6 jobs in Ontario is auto-related.
I'm of the view that the Auto Pact is the most successful two-way trade agreement on any particular product in the history of the world.
Signed in 1965, the Auto Pact allowed the giant U.S. car companies to move cars and car parts across the border duty-free. In return, they agreed to manufacture as many cars here as they sold. But in the past 10 years, U.S. car companies have made twice as many cars in Canada as they've sold here.
We're so far above the Auto Pact requirements that it's not a factor to ensure the safety or health of the Canadian industry.
You're not going to see any movement out of this country as a result of the demise of the Auto Pact.
But the Canadian Auto Workers Union says without the Auto Pact, Canada will be vulnerable, that we could lose jobs and investment to the U.S. because of American tax incentives. Buzz Hargrove calls for a post-Auto Pact investment fund.
An auto industry investment fund, for example, could be structured that could be used to entice the industry coming into Canada.
With respect to the view that we need to invest in R&D, research and development to stay ahead, I agree with that, and I hope to be in a position before too long, in the days and weeks ahead, to have something more to say about that.
While government and industry officials are confident about the auto industry's future in Canada, the downturn and recent layoffs concern Tom Moss. He worries the jobs won't be there for his children. Peter Murphy, CTV News, Windsor.
Former U.S. President Bill Clinton took his case to the people today, defending a controversial pardon he'd made. In Sunday's New York Times, Clinton explained his reasons for releasing billionaire fugitive Mark Rich. Critics charged the decision was influenced by political donations, but Clinton says the case was reviewed and advocated by 3 top Republican lawyers. All 3 quickly denied it. Their ship has sunk and the crew has vanished, but for 900 illegal migrants dumped on a French beach, the desperate odyssey is far from over. Thirsty, hungry, and exhausted, they've survived a week packed aboard an aging freighter. As Mike Lee reports, they all share the same dream, a vision of better life in a new land.
Today in southern France, these Kurdish refugees from Iraq and Turkey were given food, shelter, and clothing. Lucky to be alive. They were rescued this weekend from this ship that had run aground along the French Riviera. They had traveled for 8 days in crowded conditions. This man was happy to land anywhere in the West.
Which country is this one? They tell me this France. When they tell me this France, I was a little bit happy, you know.
Most paid $2,000, but typically many refugees cannot pay such bribes and have to promise the smuggling gangs to work for organized crime syndicates in Europe. Many young women, say officials, are forced into prostitution. 500,000 illegal immigrants have made it into Europe this past year alone. Many Europeans resent their presence as a drain on the economy. Others have died trying to reach here in recent months, including 58 Chinese migrants who suffocated to death in a truck on their way to Britain. As for the hundreds who landed in France this weekend, the odds are that most will be denied permission to stay. But, say officials, while waiting for their cases to be heard, many simply disappear into Western society, and that keeps them coming. Mike Lee, ABC News, London.
In other news tonight, rioting prisoners are holding 8,000 guards and visitors hostage in Brazil's largest prison. At least 2 inmates have been killed. Police managed to retake a small part of the complex and are negotiating for the release of the hostages. The pursuit of an American fugitive has ended. Robert Walker, wanted on 22 charges, including sexual assault, was arrested today in Montreal. Walker was captured after being surrounded by a SWAT team at this gas station. And actress Drew Barrymore and her fiancé, Canadian comic Tom Green, are assessing the wreckage after a fire ripped through their Hollywood home. The couple wasn't hurt, but their house sustained more than $950,000 worth of damage. Still ahead tonight, renovation ripoff. Gold Talk digs up some answers when a down payment disappears along with the contractor. That story is coming up on CTV News.
CTV, Canadian television.
Every Accord now comes standard with Honda's unique race-bred VTEC engine. We've also added 20 engineering enhancements to create a new whisper quiet ride. Not to mention all the convenient features you've come to expect in an Accord. So, should all this be considered an indulgence or merely icing on the cake?
So you still want to retire in 5 years?
I gotta find the money to pay for the kids.
No problem. You take a portion of your equity for RESPs and set up a family trust to split your income.
So, you think the best way for me to help the kids
is to help yourself.
Every day we help more Canadians make the most of their money. Investors Group. Solutions built around you.
This is a CFCN News Update.
Good evening, I'm Shelley McCrugan. Coming up on the CFCN Late Night News, a man is charged in connection with the city's second homicide of the year. Details at 11:30.
Holiday Monday at the Brick. Get a 7% Family Day bonus discount on everything for your home. That's like saving the GST on everything in the store. Plus, you can scratch and win one of 30 Jeep Grand Cherokees.
Coming home to the Brick.
Here's your manual. Any questions? No? Good luck.
Some things require a little more instruction. At London Drugs, our computer experts and technicians will get you started right and help with any problems along the way.
You get a great deal more. London Drugs.
Holiday Monday at the Brick. You don't pay for 1 full year with no down payment, no monthly payments, and no interest. Plus, get a 7% Family Day bonus discount on everything in the store.
Coming home to the Brick.
Building an addition can be stressful enough for homeowners, and the last thing they need is a contractor who takes their money and runs. And that's just what happened to an Ontario couple who lost their deposit on a new sunroom. Angry at being left out in the cold, they asked CTV's Dale Goldhawk to fight back.
Hot tub be nice.
The goal had been to breathe new life into an old house. Teresa and Dale Bucknell ordered a sunroom and some new windows from Exterior Creations Incorporated. They handed over a $12,000 down payment.
So you gave him the check, and he went away,
Yeah,
but he really went away.
he did, yeah. He never came back.
Couldn't believe it. Just we had quite a few sleepless nights here.
Teresa tried to find the contractor. She even called the manufacturer, Timo Sunrooms, in the United States. A customer service representative said nothing could be done to get this project back on track.
He said there was nothing basically that he could do from his end, and that if they ever did have a representative in this area, he'd give us a discount.
Well, that apparently was the wrong answer.
That's right.
When we contacted Timo, the vice president assured us the company would send crews to the Bucknell's farmhouse right away. The crews would complete the project, and Timo gave the Bucknells full credit for the missing $12,000 deposit.
I've been with Timo about 14 years, and this is about the third occasion that we've had to step in and actually take care of a dealer leaving the customer.
All the renovations were completed in less than a week. The Bucknells had been waiting since September for something to happen here. Now it has.
Getting the sunroom built, as it turns out, was a whole lot easier than finding the contractor who took the money and ran.
Apparently, he's still running. The offices of Exterior Creations Incorporated in rural Cambridge are deserted. The contractor had left one early clue that something was wrong. He asked for a 50% deposit on the Bucknell job. The Bucknells said no and gave him 20%. But the local Better Business Bureau says even 20% is too high.
Most contractors that are financially stable would be satisfied with a 10% deposit down.
Absolutely.
Now, Dale, did Timo, the manufacturer, have a legal obligation to finish the job?
No, not at all. I mean, think of it as if a car dealer took your money and then ran away, would the car manufacturer be responsible? The answer is no. Timo did it in the interest of good customer relations.
Now, if they had not done so, would the couple have had any other legal recourse?
You can sue a missing company, get a piece of paper, and still wind up with zero money. We have more details about home renovation, Sandy. Just go to goldhawk.com.
Thanks, Dale.
Thanks, Cindy.
And when we return, car computers, high-tech help, or diversion to disaster.
Wherever your dream for the future lies, we can build the RSP to help you get there. For investment advice, call 1-800-ROYAL-63 or visit your branch. Royal Bank. Make the most of your dreams.
All-bran bud cereal with psyllium. It's a part of healthy eating. Here's to your health.
your business. Helping you make them work is ours. E-Solutions from Microsoft.
Named Best Newscast for the Walkerton Water Tragedy broadcast.
What's happening to our children in this town?
Recipient of a gold world medal at the New York festivals. CTV News, Canada's #1 choice for news. Closed captioning of this program is brought to you in part by Royal LePage. Anywhere in Canada, your neighborhood is our neighborhood.
Here's a brief look at some items on the CTV News agenda. Nortel Network's Chief John Roth speaks to the Canadian Club in Toronto. Public hearings begin in Ontario on a controversial health privacy bill that critics say strips patients of their right to correct their medical files. And British Prime Minister Tony Blair arrives in Ottawa Wednesday on his first official visit to Canada. Now imagine organizing your finances, answering emails and getting directions all while driving. It is called telematics, a type of wireless communication that seems to do everything but walk your dog. Question is, won't all this high-tech gadgetry keep you from the very serious business of driving? CTV's Mark Schneider has a look.
If you're not too busy already, dodging traffic, managing your anger, or finding your insurance papers, you'll find telematics to snap. From navigation systems,
turn left after 400 feet.
Email,
You have email.
To anti-collision displays, computerizing the car's cockpit is in high gear. The question is, are you ready?
I guess the question we have to ask ourselves, how important are these devices? Are they really essential? Do we really need to, check how our stocks are doing while we're driving to work?
General Motors is banking on it. This week, OnStar, the GM navigation and personal service technology, announced that now
you can manage your finances without taking your hands off the steering wheel.
What is my account balance?
OnStar, can you tell me where I am? Still, its navigation technology is impressive. While driving on Vancouver's waterfront, an OnStar advisor in Michigan knew exactly where we were.
Vancouver, British Columbia, on the water.
Right on the water, eh?
Right on the water, that's right.
Instead of a live advisor, Mercedes uses a talking computer to talk you through traffic.
Turn left after 700 feet. Then make the next left turn.
Here's a situation where it's telling me to actually make a left-hand turn into a one-way street.
Yeah, to a one-way street going the wrong way. The real danger may come from car owners adding aftermarket telematics, like this navigation system. It's amazingly accurate. It'll tell you where you are within 50 meters, but it won't tell you that you're about to run into somebody because your eyes aren't on the road. Of course, there's other technologies ahead to keep you from running down pedestrians in case you get distracted reading your email.
Turn left after 500 feet. Then you will arrive at your destination.
But what is the destination? Cars that drive themselves, or drivers more like fighter pilots?
Even fighter pilots are limited in the amount of information they can take in. I mean, let's face it, the average driver is not really a fighter pilot, even though many of them think that they are.
A frightening thought, that. A new generation of distracted road warriors. Mark Schneider, CTV News, Vancouver.
Thank you for joining us here at CTV News this weekend. I'm Sandy Ronaldo. Lloyd Robertson will be here tomorrow. Good night.
CTV News, Canada's most watched newscast. It's time to contribute to your future. Get all the financial advice you'll need for your registered retirement savings plan. RRSP Week starts tomorrow on CTV's Canada AM. News, weather, and more to start your day.